What's going on, y'all? We back. It's the Blunt Conversations podcast. It's Scott LaRock Jr. I got a super duper legend with me today. Hip hop pioneer, icon. I could go on and on and on with all the names I could call this man. Kool DJ Red Alert. Peace, appreciate your time.
Peace, man. What's going on? How you been, Neff?
Can't complain. Just staying out the way, man. This pandemic is some madness. Trying to stay safe. Trying to stay healthy, man. How you been?
Yeah, we gotta maintain because nobody gonna do it for us, man.
Absolutely. Family good? Everybody good?
Fine, man. Yo, listen here. I'm at that stage. I'm just laying back enjoying the grands, man.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Understand that. That's the same type of time my mom on now. She just want the babies. She don't even want to see us no more.
At all.
I did my service to y'all. Just drop the babies off and get the hell away from me.
Hey, your turn will come down the road.
Yeah, eventually. But what I wanted to get into basically was just, I know you've been in this since before this had a beginning. So like, what was the exact time period when you like first touched the airwaves and you really felt like hip hop could actually do something, like in the mainstream world?
My first time I touched the airwaves was approximately around 82, 83. And this was not on major radio. This was like more like independent radio. More like 83, I could say. I'm thinking 82, 83. There was an independent station that I would give is the birth of what hip hop music was started out at. 105.9 WHBI. That's where it gave birth to people such as Rest in Peace, Super Rock and Mr. Magic, the Awesome 2, the world famous Supreme Team, my man Jerry Bloodrock, the list is long. That was an independent station where you had to pay airtime to be on the radio. And you know what's so crazy about that? I'm gonna break it down
to get on air.
Yeah, you had to pay. I'm gonna tell you the crazy part about it. Now the signals was from an antenna based out there in Jersey, but the station was in the basement of a tenement building on 80 Riverside Drive on the west side. In the basement. You pay for the airtime for how many hours, and you go and you do your show. And that's what people did. Because they wanted to be acknowledged, they wanted to be heard. So it started on a little small independent station, but within a matter of time, it caught on to everybody in the streets, the youth and everything, and everybody started gravitating to that. So I used to be with my man Africa Islam, one of the members of the Zulu Nation, and he had a show called Zulu Beats. And I used to be down with him on that.
And this was in 82, 83?
Around 82, 83, around that time. I say more like he started around 82.
So how long would you say after that hip hop kind of got on mainstream?
Well, when it came on mainstream, because by the time 82 when we got there, Mr. Magic, who started I think around 81 into 82, he already had left because the major station WBLS had picked him up because they found out how much impact he had with the youth and the streets. So that's when let me shut this thing down. You know how that phone goes sometimes.
Yeah.
Here it is that they picked them up. So that's when it started taking a rise to the majors, to the main radio station.
So then now I gotta ask, how did that I guess it was a competition. Like, how did that start with you and Mr. Magic, and how did all that take place? Like,
okay, how this became is this. When the time that the program director of 98.7 Kiss FM had came down to a place called the Roxy, that's where Orbis was playing, Zulu Nation was playing at the Roxy. We used to handle it like every Friday, no exaggeration. We must have averaged about 3,500 people in there every Friday. All different nationalities, all different walks of life, joined together and listened to what we was doing. The program director got the win of it, knowing that Mr. Magic is on the competitive station, so he came down there and he came to talk to Bambaataa. But the Bambaataa said, we like to incorporate what you doing along what we doing, because they had a thing called the Kiss Master Mixes. They already had DJs like my man Shep Pettibone and Tony Humphrey, more like the dance disco, the dance DJs, into the house. So they wanted to incorporate what we doing along. So the first person they went after was one of the homies that I said I used to be down with on HBI, Africa Islam, a couple appointments, but he missed the appointments. So the next person they went in line was my cousin, Jazzy J. Jazzy got on. He got on in about August of '83. As he got on in August of '83, he did it for a couple of months, August and September. They wasn't paying, but still he was getting a lot of exposure. And exposure led him, exposure led to him get him bookings, some parties, some studio work, but he let it go. So that's when they came to me, and that was in October '83. I never looked back.
And you've been on ever since.
And Blessings in October going to be 38 years.
That's longer than I've been alive, huh?
Yeah, but it's a blessing. Hey, now I know what city workers feel like, because I know people that have been working for the city for years and years and been at the same spot. I know I've been doing the same thing for going on 38.
So you probably seen the game change 6, 7, 15 times.
So many times, man. I've seen so much, man. But I learned how to maintain, man. I'm just learning to maintain.
Yeah, so I gotta ask you this question: what you know as hip hop, and what you hear today? Like, do you classify that as hip hop still?
Excuse me?
Do you classify today's music, what these rappers are making now, as hip hop?
It depends on who and where it's being made at. Here it is, the commercialism of what you're hearing all day on the radio and what you probably come across on television or with the features and what's on the internet to some degree. Nah, that's not. It's been watered down over the period of time.
Definitely.
But the raw, the diamond in the rough is where I come from, even before radio, when I was going to Kool Herc parties, when I was seeing Kool Herc and Scott LaRock, when I finally got a chance to make myself a DJ and get put on by Bambaataa, we talking about like the 70s into the early 80s. And for what is it that we was doing and portraying was to us the culture of hip hop, which it wasn't even called hip hop at one time. We going to the jams. We jamming, But a lot of people don't know that it's the media that coined the phrase hip hop, because they didn't understand what it was. So they gave it that title, and that's where it's been stuck ever since. So that was, but as time go by, you have like from different eras, from the very first start, from Grandmaster Flash Furious 5, Funky 4+1, So Sonic Force, and then Treacherous Streets, Mooney G. I'm just naming a few. The next era here come Run DMC, Fat Boys, Houdini, LL Cool J. The next era here come Boogie Down Production, Eric B. Rakim, Salt and Pepper, Heavy D. I'm just breaking down the different sections.
Right.
So I always kept on seeing it evolving over and over and over. I say the last official, in my opinion, the last official point of real hip hop trickled into the 90s. But as it still was in the 90s, everything else started to trickle in right over that, where it started to become watered down to a certain degree according to what is it to please the audience that didn't understand what it was.
Right.
And had to come across being kind of refined. Now I will admit it, I did enjoy the Bad Boy era, the Rockefeller, the early Rockefeller era, and something similar like that. But if I was able to play Bad Boy music and Rockefeller music, I can still play the Boot Camp Click. I can still play some of that Wu-Tang. Learn how to interject the hardcore and the commercial and the pop, you had the pop, you had the Will Smith, you know, you had all the. I always learned my job on radio because when you're on the radio, you catering to a little bit of everybody's listening to you. Everybody in all different walks of life. They may have something in common. They listen to you, but when they go about their business, this crowd is here, this crowd is there. So you try to gravitate a little bit of everybody by playing a little thing and mix it together. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm. So now I got to ask you this question. Would you say that, because I know a lot of people blame the South for where hip hop is at right now. Would you say that kind of like when the South got a hold of things and they kind of took over in the early 2000s, that's when you seen this get further away from like the hip hop, you know, and more toward this stuff?
Nah, even before then, because remember at one point in time, when you had the hardcore, what is it? It's called the boom bap. When the boom bap coming in strong, the boom bap start to separate away from the commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So in the boom bap, so who is it that was supporting the boom bap later on? You had my boys Stretch and Bobito, where they had their show in the college station up in Columbia University, and they was catching all the boom bap cats and the underground cats. I'm playing the commercial stuff because I'm on commercial mainstream radio.
Right.
So that was the start. I seen the separation. That's why I say how it still trickle into the 90s, but I start seeing the other elements is coming in. So within later on, it gone lead where some of the South music was coming up. The South music was already up here, but people didn't realize.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the early 90s, you had the early Outkast, the early Goody Mob. I know about me traveling, I have brought back records that sounded good to me that I play from the South. No matter what part of the South it was, it sounded good. I'm going to play it. You know, that's one thing I always learned to do. And as what it showed that at one point in time, the South was learning how to brace together. As they learned to brace together, they unify. And they unify. And for a simple example, I know from that certain award show that the Source Award it was in New York City with that time when quote unquote Suge Knight came with that little situation. That was the same award where who got the album of the year? Outkast. Everybody said Outkast. And Outkast came up and when you heard what my man came up and said on the mic, he said the South have something to say. So that was a statement saying for all of them, and they learned to assemble. You know, now they have some charisma, you know, they have some style, but here come the next the next wave generation for what is it they want to portray, what they want to make now. And, you know, the popularity of the trap music, you know, the popularity of Soulja Boy, the popularity of other different things, and internet started taking in place heavy during that time because it was not really being broken on radio no more. Everybody was going to the internet, you know. When I look at, you know what, I'm gonna tell you where I say I kind of respect Soulja Boy, and a lot of people maybe disagree with me. Soulja Boy went on the same path because when he went with that first record with Off That Dance. Ain't no difference what Joe Ski Love did a long time ago with the Pee Wee Herman. Ain't nothing no different what Hammer was doing when he was dancing his way to get 10 million. So now here it is. This young kid is in a different era and come with a different phase and a different approach on the internet. So everything was changing. And that's what I saw.
So now I got to go back a couple steps with you now. You know I got to go back. I got to go back. Baby. I got to go back to the Bridge Wars. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right if me and you sat down and this didn't come up. You know that. It wouldn't be right if me and you sat down and we didn't talk about the Bridge Wars.
Yes, sir.
So I'm looking back and I wasn't around. I wasn't born, but now like getting around all of y'all and getting to hear the different stories from different people in different places, you instigated that whole thing. You know what I mean? And I heard this from a bunch of different places. Like, man, Red made that something, and that's why shit became.
I did that for a reason. I did that for a reason. Now, I will admit, I was hearing all kind of mixed stories. What led to me to do that, but I had my own reason of what issues I had from before. Remember, like I say, once I got on board doing the radio, first before me, my cousin Jazzy, Mr. Magic, who was the pinnacle of what was going on in the streets on BLS, he looking at my cousin Jazzy. So he's known for that mouth. He started talking there. Who this guy who's on the up, down the dial? Jazzy who? Jazzy Jerk? They calling him different names. So now here it is. When I came on, he started saying, well, who this guy? I heard he got red hair. What did he what? Red who? Red Dirt? No, Woody Woodpecker? And he started making sayings like slap the lipstick off the radio, talking about Kiss FM and all that. And I was going back and forth with him. So now the first situation was before the Bridge War was the Roxanne era. Now when Roxanne came out, UTO, the answer to that was Shantae. She the one that answered the UTFO. Here it is. I happened to be hanging out in Russell Simmons' office that day. I'll never forget this. Who come walking in? My man Spider D and his lady at the time, Sparky D. They just came out the studio. Spider had produced a record by Sparky called Sparky's Turn, Roxanne You Through. It was a diss at Shantae. So now here it is. When Russell heard it, he said, oh man, we got to jump right on this right now. We can't waste no time, man. This was going on. And they came out and said, yeah, but we don't have no DJ. I happened to be standing right there on the side. She looked at me. She said, you want to be my DJ? I didn't hesitate. I said, no problem. So now here it is. I'm with Sparky D. Shantae, of course, with the Juice Crew. The rivalry is already with me and Magic over there. So that was that. So when that died down, now here it is, as I know your father for a good while. Yeah, we always had a good relation before music. You know, good relation. And we had something in common for our ball, you know. When he got more into the doing the music, he was always asking for different tips. I was given that one day, I'll never forget, it was at Latin Quarters. It was called Celebrity Tuesday that the Austin 2 was doing. It was a guy named DJ Wahoo. He was on the turntables. Your father, along with Chris, came in and brought what they used to call acetate, which is a hard plate that you know is known as a test presser. Pass that over to Wahoo, say, can you play this? He put that on, automatic. The response was crazy. Automatic. So now, here it is. He said, no, I can't. I got to play this again from the beginning. So from the beginning, played all the way through. After you finish, pass it to Scott. Scott say, this is for you for the radio. Mind you, one thing about me, even though I may be a rival with you, but if anybody from your camp is making good records, I'm going to play it. So at that time, MC Sham made a record called The Bridge. So what I did, I said, okay, I know how I'm going to program this and get everybody's attention. So when you hear the lyrics that Sham doing, but when they go to the chorus saying the bridge, to the bridge, I asked them doing South Bronx, South Bronx. And like, oh, caught everybody's attention. What I also heard is different things. Number one, there was a record that Boogie Down had did under a different name. I think it was called 1241. It's the name of the record called Success is the Word. I heard that Magic played it and he disrespected. As he disrespected so hard that the label dropped the group. That's the word I got. And then I heard later on about the situation when here it is that the fellows would bring something from Magic. Listen, and he said, yo, we got something to say, and he dissed them right off the top. Talk about his crew and stuff. So it's two different stories I was hearing. But it gave me the initiative to say, okay, since I know they my rivals already from the heydays, And this is my man right here. And I'm going to bat for him according to what is it they made with the bridge. This is my way of going at it. So yes, I'm the instigator. But I love it. I love it.
It's history though. You know what I mean?
But you know
right
what?
there made history in the city.
But you know, a lot of people don't understand. Even though we was rivals, to this day, it's blessed to say that we never ever got into anything as a physicality. Nothing physical. And matter of fact, when me and Sparky, along with the road manager, was on the road with Shantae and her DJ, we was always doing shows together during the Roxanne era. Fly Ty and I was roommates, and we're supposed to be rivals.
Right.
You know, that's like saying every time whoever come to each other's town, Mr. Magic Johnson come in Boston or Larry Bird come to LA, they're gonna eat in each other's house.
Right.
So
but you know, competition though, it was just music. Competition.
It's competition. We always kept it on the mic and the turntables.
Right.
You know? And look what it led to later on down the road. Here it is, Chris, myself, along with Shan and Mr. Magic, we did a Sprite commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Look how that turned out.
Right.
Together, doing a Sprite commercial.
Right. But it's a lot of like different stories with that whole situation there. Like, even just like your part in it, like or Shan's part in it. Like when I speak to Shan, it's something completely different than when I speak to somebody else. Or when I speak to you, like I hear like it's the most consistent, I think, coming from you. And I don't know if you remember Scott Morris.
Scott Morris, yeah.
Scott. Yeah. When I speak to you and Scotty, I get the most like consistent feel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if it was because y'all was in it the most, but like when I speak to Scotty, it's like he could take me there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. What it is at that time? Because one thing I learned about in the culture of the hip hop has always been competitive. It's always been about competition. That's been like that ever since before records even came out. You know, who's the better DJ? Who's the better MC? Who's the better breakdancer? Who's the best graffiti artist? Who are the best group? You know, it's a battle situation. And after you finish, y'all go ahead and have a drink. So you now it goes to the next hour coming into the recording field. It's the same thing. So when Magic was dissing me, did I take it offensive? In the very beginning, yes, because I remember when I stepped into the program director's office, I said, yo, man, this guy is dissing me. The program director is laughing at me. Now I'm getting mad at him because, you know, I got that street mentality.
Right.
He said, no, sit down. He explained to me, he said, you have the right to be mad. But remember one thing. At the same time, dissing you, he advertising you. Because the more and more he talk about you, he encouraging everybody to stroll down the dial. See So I had to learn to take that in stride, and I utilize that to my advantage.
Mm-hmm.
No.
If you just kept doing what you was doing and he kept saying your name, people was going to gravitate to you naturally.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I could have said, and rest in peace, because I still say to this day, respect to Mr. Magic, for him opening the door for me to be on radio by him starting in an independent station. You know? What more can you ask for?
Yeah. And you've been doing this, you said 38 years.
Hey, if you take care of my family, put my kid through college. What more can I say?
Yeah.
You know?
Or something that started out as fun.
Yeah, it started out fun. You know what I always call it? The 4-H. I'm going to tell you why I call it the 4-H. When there's something that you like to do, it become a hobby. When you see that you continue on and people want to hire you, even though it's just a couple dollars or whatever, it become a hustle. Now here it is, you reach to that certain plateau, as far as I'm concerned, reaching to radio. Now I see the criteria, all what's going on behind the scenes. But radio, led into the music industry. And I see that, yo, it's not what everybody think it is on the outside. To me, become hell.
Right.
So you got hustle, I got hobby, hustle, hell. But the last H is learn to handle it. So that's my 4H.
Yeah, you can't cry about it. You just gotta learn how to work through that shit.
You gotta handle it.
Else in life, yeah, you gotta handle that shit.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because you know what? If you don't handle it, somebody else will be in your spot.
Yeah, somebody else gonna step right in and do that shit because there's somebody else that will handle it.
And that's what I'm talking about.
That's for sure.
But one thing I have to say, I have to say this. During my time being along with the Boogie Down production for even the beginning stages, I felt good because by me coming from an established organization from before, now I'm in a new breed, a new era, and I'm proud to say I'm not saying toot no horn. I'm just saying it with confidence. I gotta be probably from my era the only person as up to right now is still relevant to the audience compared to my peers. You always hear of them, but people just only know the name but don't know much about them but just the name. I'm still maintaining to that status. And I'm blessed about that. So now when I leave from that era of what it is from the beginning, and now I come into mid 80s with a new generation, a new audience, a new set of people that's in the game of what they want to do and being embraced, I'm blessed. So being part of that, along with all the other different MCs and groups that embrace me as I'm playing their music and giving me good vibes and everything, I learned to keep rolling with that. And that's what I had done.
Yeah, I think your ability to adapt, and also like I know for me, even like you was probably the easiest person of your status like to speak to. Like you never made yourself like this big mystic figure that somebody couldn't get next to. You know what I mean?
And you know what? I think that comes from within my family. There's some history in my family that a lot of people don't know about. Start with my aunt, my mother's sister. She, rest in peace, she was one of the first Black females to start singing at Carnegie Hall, singing opera. At that time, you know what was going on down Midtown. There are certain things not allowed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Within later on, my brother is one of the first members under Mr. Homebell Rucker. My brother started playing for Mr. Rucker ever since he was 11 years old. Him along with Bob McCullough. My brother's name is Ernest Morris. They call him Ernesto, or they call him the Nest. Him along with Bob McCullough, Fred Crawford. I mean, I can give a whole list. They all came up under Mr. Rucker. And here it is. Mr. Rucker is the one that we saw what they was doing with their school and everything. He the one that had them going down to Laurinburg Institute to finish off school. He sent down my brother. He sent down Bob McCullough. He sent down the GOAT, Earl Manigault.
Earl Manigault?
Yeah, he sent a lot of people down. So he was under him. And what happened that after the passing of Mr. Rucker, that's when they decided to carry on and make it as a pro league. And they was playing in it. So my brother is in the forefront of that, and he was a public figure to people because when he started playing ball, when he got in high school, I learned it may not go majorly across the board, but I learned that he was the first freshman in PSAL history to play in a championship game at that time. Because usually they only have juniors and seniors.
I was about to say freshmen usually didn't even play varsity back then. So they didn't even get a chance to
he came in freshman varsity and then jumped to junior varsity and then wound up being on varsity. So he excelled along the way. As he excelled, it led up to him to be in that championship. First time in PSAL history.
So you had a lot of barrier breakers in your family.
So right at the same token of time, I always saw, you look at them as, but that's my aunt, that's my brother. But the way they carry themselves, they come across and interact with people. I come from a Caribbean background, and we have a way how to come across and relate with people. So when it came to me coming to my own and watching my elders before me, and even before I got to be known what I was doing, I learned how to be vibing with everybody. I was cool with everybody. I went to Dear Clinton High School. At that time, I went to Clinton. It was all boys, and I know you always heard the history of the gang era. So imagine being up there in an all boy high school, but I always learned to vibe with everybody. Now listen here, you go have your scraps. It helped make you, but it helped toughen you up. It helped toughen you and make you become who you are. But I always learned how to maintain. So when I got to become known in the DJ and get it to the heights, I just still maintained that. I did not allow nothing else to get to me. I'm sorry. I didn't want to do that. I feel comfortable just as I am.
Right.
I can't do it.
Right. Yeah, and it's that's a whole nother, I guess, dynamic of this shit. It's like certain people, I think, don't get past a certain point because they're not willing to compromise who they are.
Right.
And I think that's pretty much like what I get from you. Right.
Because there's one thing I learned. All this can be given to you, and then one day all that could be taken away from you.
Yep.
Unexpected. You never, out of nowhere, and I've seen this happen to so many people. I've seen it happen, and you feel down, you feel shame, you feel embarrassed, and no matter what, if a person like me, I could walk through the block and have $1 in my pocket, or I could have $1,000 in my pocket, but my way how I'm moving, you couldn't tell a difference.
Right.
It's how you relate with everybody. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's something that always stood out to me about you. Like every person in the spot could come up to Red and yo Red, like they knew you. And if they was a regular, you remember their name. Like, and I know, like, as somebody who I'm like, damn, that's how you keep him coming back. Like, that's a part of what makes him who he is. Because the motherfucker feel like they come to the party with a friend. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Many a times I have heard from different people throughout my years on radio that always come to me and say, yo, man, I hear you all the time, man. I always feel like I know you, man, because they feel my vibe, how I come across on the radio through my music or even when I'm talking. So that's where they feel when they actually see you and they connect the same way your presence along from how they hear you. That's how they feel about you. So that's it.
Yeah. So now you got 38 years in. You probably in the Hall of Fame 40 times.
Huh?
When does it end? Like, when is this something you want to do forever?
No, I'm gonna tell you honestly, and I know a lot of people want to hear it, but everything have an end, man. I'm giving myself a couple more years, man. And I'm not ashamed to tell you, man, I'm a senior, man.
Yeah.
I'm a senior, man. So I got a couple more years, and then afterwards I could receive my retirement, I could receive my pension. That's from radio. I still go a DJ, whoever hired me, or if I take it upon myself, whatever I want to play at.
Yep.
But as far as an occupation, sometimes I don't even think of an occupation. I'm having fun doing it. As an occupation, I'm giving myself within another, let me see, we're in March, I say within April 2022.
So you say about a year?
No. April 2023, my bad. April 2023.
So it's 2 years.
Yeah.
So if you want to get Red Alert, they got to get them now.
And what I'm trying to do right now, because I'm blessed, they just added more time for me on the radio. Mm-hmm. Now I'm on 6 days a week. I'm on BLS. I do 6 to 7 Monday to Friday and 6 to 8 on Saturday. And besides the radio, there's other different things I'm sprinkling into what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Because my whole point is this. When I leave, I want to leave at a good situation.
Right.
I want to leave like Kobe hit 60.
Uh-huh.
That's
the highest point you can. Yeah.
Hey, listen here, that's my premonition right now. That's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Make your impact as much as I can within the next couple of years and leave at a good situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I'm looking at it. And you know what's crazy, besides radio, I meant to tell you, because since I started DJing as far back as 1976, at 19, here it is, in August of this year, marked 45 years up in DJing. So 30, going on 38 in radio, but 45 altogether. I know.
God damn.
I know. So when everybody come out and they always say to me, "Damn, Red, you old." I said, "No, I'm just well seasoned."
And still rocking the house though.
I love what I do.
Oh, I appreciate your time, man.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Respect to you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, blessings to your moms, blessings to the rest of the family.
Definitely blessings to your family too. I'm gonna have Mr. up here in a couple of weeks too. He got some stuff going on. I got to get him up here too. I spoke to him the other day.
Okay.
Send the family my love, Uncle. I appreciate you.
All day, man. Me and you.